Captain Zara Thelen stood before the great viewing window of the Star Whisper, watching another star system fade into the darkness behind them. Her pale blue hands pressed against the cool metal frame as she counted the rejections in her mind. 17 civilizations had turned them away. 17 chances for survival had slipped through their fingers like sand. The bridge around her hummed with quiet activity. Her crew moved with the careful grace that marked all Kalani people, their movements flowing like dancers even in the face of disaster. But Zara could see the fear in their large, dark eyes. They all knew what waited for them back home. "Captain," called Navigation Officer Keth from his station. "We have completed our scan of the outer rim systems. There are 3 more inhabited worlds within our fuel range." Zara turned from the window, her long silver hair catching the soft blue light of the bridge displays. The Kalani had never needed bright lights or harsh colors. Their world of Serenity Prime bathed them in gentle twilight, and their ships reflected that same peaceful nature. "What do we know about these species?" she asked. Communications Specialist Vila looked up from her console, her thin fingers dancing across the control surfaces. 2 are already under Vorthak control, Captain. The 3rd, she paused, checking her readings again. The 3rd is listed as Sol 3. The inhabitants call themselves humans. Elder Mothtar, who had been silent in his corner of the bridge, suddenly straightened. His ancient frame, even more delicate than the rest of the crew, seemed to tremble.
"Did you say humans?" "Yes, Elder. Why? Do you know of them?" Mothtar's eyes grew wide with something that looked like fear.
"Bring up the Galactic archives. Search for Deathworld classifications." Vila's hands moved quickly across her station. Data streams flowed across the main screen, showing star charts and species classifications that stretched back thousands of years. Finally, a single entry appeared. Sol 3. Species designation, human. Planet classification, category 12. Deathworld. Status, unconfirmed survival. The bridge fell silent. Even the soft hum of the ship's systems seemed to fade. Category 12 was a classification most Kalani had only heard about in ancient stories. Worlds so hostile that they killed almost everything that tried to live on them. Worlds that created species so dangerous that the old galactic councils had marked them as threats to be avoided. "Elder," Zara said carefully, "are you certain about this?" Mothtar moved to the central display, his movements slower than usual. "I have lived for 400 years, child. I have studied the old records that most have forgotten. The Deathworlders were real once, beings forged by planets that tried to kill them every single day. They became predators beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. But they are extinct, are they not?" asked Keth. "The records show no contact for over 1,000 years." "The records show no contact because no one was brave enough to make contact," Mothtar replied. "These humans, if they still live, would have spent 1,000 years growing stronger, growing more dangerous." Zara felt the weight of decision pressing down on her shoulders. Behind them, the Vorthak Empire continued its march across Kalani space. Their home fleets were already gone, destroyed in battles that lasted mere hours. Serenity Prime had perhaps days before the invasion fleet arrived. The Vorthak were cruel masters of war. They had conquered 12 star systems in the past decade, turning peaceful worlds into slave colonies. They did not negotiate. They did not show mercy. They simply took what they wanted and destroyed what they could not use. "Captain," Vila said softly, "we are receiving another transmission from home." The main screen shifted to show Admiral Teth, commander of what remained of the Kalani Defense Fleet. His face was drawn with exhaustion, and burn scars marked his left cheek where enemy fire had breached his ship's bridge. "Zara, we have lost the Outer Ring colonies. The Vorthak Advance Fleet has destroyed the mining stations at Gamma 7 and Gamma 9. Our intelligence suggests their main invasion force will reach Serenity Prime in 6 days. Zara closed her eyes. 6 days. They had 6 days to find someone willing to help them, or her entire species would be wiped from the galaxy. "Admiral, we have made contact with 17 species. All have refused aid. We have 3 more systems to investigate." "Then investigate them quickly," Admiral Teth said. His image flickered as enemy jamming tried to block the transmission. The Council has authorized you to make any deal necessary. Promise them anything. Technology, territory, servitude if needed. Just bring us help. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in heavy silence. Zara looked around at her crew, seeing her own desperation reflected in their faces. They were explorers and scientists, not warriors. Their ships were built for discovery, not battle. Even their greatest weapons were designed to clear asteroid fields, not fight enemy fleets. Set course for the Sol system, Zara said finally. Captain, Mothtar said, you understand what you may be awakening? If the humans have survived on their death world, if they have grown strong, then perhaps they are strong enough to help us, Zara finished. Elder, my people are dying, my children are dying. If I must wake sleeping devils to save them, then I will wake every devil in the galaxy. Keth entered the course corrections, and the Star Whisper turned toward the distant yellow star that marked the Sol system. The journey would take them 4 days at maximum speed. 4 days to reach a species that might be extinct, might be hostile, or might be their only hope for survival. As the ship entered warp, Zara remained at the viewing window. Behind them, the Vorthak Empire continued its advance toward her home. Ahead lay the unknown. She whispered a prayer to the ancient spirits of Serenity Prime, asking them to guide her ship safely to whatever waited in the darkness between the stars. The fate of every Kalani life now rested on the answer they would receive from the mysterious humans of Sol 3. She could only hope that the legends about Deathworlders were wrong, or that if they were right, these humans might choose to use their terrible strength to protect rather than destroy. Admiral Kate Sullivan was drinking her morning coffee when the alarm bells started ringing throughout the Terran Defense Command. The hot liquid splashed across her uniform as she jumped to her feet, but she ignored the stain. In 30 years of military service, she had learned that emergency alerts at dawn usually meant very bad news. She ran down the corridor toward the command center, her boots echoing off the metal walls. Around her, other officers and technicians hurried to their stations. The massive underground facility in Colorado had been built to coordinate Earth's defense against any threat, but it had never received a signal from beyond the solar system. What do we have? Kate demanded as she entered the main operations room. Lieutenant Colonel Dan Carter looked up from his console, his face pale with excitement and fear. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from outside our solar system. The signal is weak, but it appears to be a distress call. Kate moved to the central display where the communications team was working to clean up the signal. Static filled the speakers, mixed with strange sounds that might have been words. Dr. Alex Morgan, the chief scientist for xenobiology, stood nearby with a tablet in his hands. Can we understand any of it? Kate asked. The computer is trying to match it against known language patterns, Alex replied. But Admiral, this is definitely not human. The vocal structure is completely different from anything we have on record. The static cleared for a moment and alien words filled the command center. The universal translator struggled with the unfamiliar sounds, producing broken English phrases that made little sense. Please, help us. Dying. Children. Home. Destruction comes. Kate felt a chill run down her spine. Even through the damaged translation, the desperation was clear. Someone out there was begging for help. Where is the signal coming from? She asked. Deep space, Admiral. At least 40 light years from Earth. The signal is old, probably transmitted weeks ago. More words came through the speakers, clearer now as the translator learned the alien language. We are Kalani. Peaceful people. Enemy destroys everything. Please send aid. Time runs out. The transmission cut to static again, but the message was clear enough. An alien species was under attack and asking Earth for military assistance. Kate turned to find General Ryan Blake entering the command center. The tall gray-haired man had been in charge of Earth's military forces for the past decade. His face was grim as he listened to the repeated alien message. Options? Kate asked. We need more information, Ryan replied. Alex, what can you tell us about these Kalani? Dr. Morgan consulted his tablet, pulling up data that the computers had gathered from the signal. The transmission includes some basic information about their species and location. They appear to be from a star system called Serenity Prime, about 38 light-years from Earth. Based on their vocal patterns and the way they describe themselves, I believe they are a peaceful species with little military capability. And their enemy? They mentioned something called the Vorthak Empire. No details yet, but the way they describe the attacks suggests a highly aggressive military force. Kate studied the star charts that appeared on the main screen. 38 light-years was not far by galactic standards, but it was farther than any human ship had ever traveled. Earth's war fleet had been built to defend the solar system, not to fight battles in distant star systems. Admiral, Lieutenant, Colonel Carter called out, "We are receiving additional transmissions. The signal is getting stronger." This time the alien voice came through clearly. Kate could hear the fear and desperation of the speaker, even though the words were still being translated by computer. "This is Captain Zara Thelen of the Kalani vessel Star Whisper. We have sought aid from 17 civilizations. All have refused to help us. Our enemy, the Vorthak Empire, will reach our homeworld in days. Millions of civilians will die if no one comes to our aid. We know nothing of your species, humans of Sol 3, but you are our last hope. Please, if you can hear this message, if you have the power to help us, we beg you to come. Our children are dying." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in silence. Kate looked around at her officers and saw her own thoughts reflected in their faces. Somewhere out there, an entire species was facing extinction, and Earth was their only remaining hope for survival. "Can we reach their system?" Kate asked. "Yes," replied Captain Jake Mitchell, who had entered during the transmission. He commanded the dreadnought Earth's Fury, the most powerful ship in the human fleet. "It would take 3 weeks at maximum warp speed, but we can get there. And do we have the force to make a difference?" Jake nodded grimly. "If we send the full expeditionary fleet, we can field 12 heavy cruisers, 30 destroyers, and full marine support. 50,000 battle-ready troops. It depends on what we are facing, but yes, we can fight." Kate turned to General Blake. "What are your thoughts?" "It is a risk," Ryan admitted. "We would be committing most of our deep space fleet to help a species we know nothing about, fighting an enemy we have never seen. If this is a trap, or if we lose, Earth could be left defenseless. But if we do nothing, an entire civilization dies," Kate replied. Dr. Morgan stepped forward. "Admiral, there is something else to consider. This is first contact with an alien species. How we respond will set the tone for all future relations with other civilizations. If we help them, we establish Earth as a protector of the innocent. If we refuse—" He did not need to finish the sentence. Kate understood. Earth's first action on the galactic stage would define how other species saw humanity for generations to come. "I need to speak with the President," Kate said. "In the meantime, I want all fleet commanders briefed on this situation. If we go in full force." As the command center erupted into activity, Kate remained staring at the star chart. Somewhere, out there, Captain Zara Thelen was racing toward Earth with the hopes of her entire species. In a few days, Earth would have to decide whether to risk everything to save people they had never met. But as Kate looked at the distant stars, she already knew what her recommendation would be. Humanity had not reached the stars by abandoning those in need. They would not start now. War Commander Thakmol stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devourer, watching the blue and green world of Serenity Prime grow larger on his viewing screen. His forearms moved across the control surfaces with practiced efficiency, coordinating the movements of 200 Vorthak warships as they prepared for the final assault. The insectoid commander's black carapace gleamed under the red battle lights of his bridge. His compound eyes reflected the tactical displays that showed the pathetic remains of the Kalani defense fleet. 12 small ships, barely armed, trying to protect an entire world. It would be over in hours. "War Commander," clicked his second-in-command. "Sub-Commander Kracht, the advanced scouts report all orbital defenses have been neutralized. The enemy fleet is positioning itself between us and the planet." Thakmol's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his species. Brave little creatures. They think their research vessels can stop the might of the Vorthak Empire. Through the viewport, he could see the Kalani ships forming a defensive line. They were beautiful vessels designed for exploration and science rather than war. Their hulls curved gracefully, covered in the soft blue metals that the Kalani favored. They looked more like deep ocean creatures than warships. "Open a channel to the enemy fleet," Thakmol ordered. The main screen shifted to show the bridge of the lead Kalani vessel. A female stood at the center, her pale blue skin marking her as one of the planet dwellers. Her large, dark eyes showed no fear, only determination. "I am Captain Zara Thelen of the Kalani Defense Force," she said. Her voice was soft, musical, nothing like the harsh, clicking speech of the Vorthak. "You have no right to be in our space. Leave now, and we will not pursue you." Thakmol's entire bridge crew burst into chittering laughter. The idea that these fragile beings could threaten them was absurd. "I am War Commander Thakmol of the Vorthak 3rd Conquest Fleet," he replied. "Your system now belongs to the Empire. Surrender your ships and prepare your world for occupation. Resist, and we will burn every city to ash." Captain Thelen's expression did not change. "We will not surrender our home to slavers and killers. If you want Serenity Prime, you will have to take it from us." "So be it," Thakmol said, and cut the transmission. He turned to his weapons officer. "Begin the assault. Destroy half their fleet quickly, then give them another chance to surrender. I want some of them alive to work the slave colonies." The Vorthak battle line opened fire. Hundreds of plasma cannons sent streams of superheated gas across the void toward the Kalani ships. The first volley struck the lead vessel, a ship called the Morning Light. Its shields flared and failed, and secondary explosions ripped through its hull. But the Kalani did not break and run. Instead, they returned fire with their mining lasers and research equipment, weapons never designed for battle but used with desperate courage. Their shots barely scratched the Vorthak armor, but they kept fighting. "Admirable," Thakmol admitted as he watched another Kalani ship explode under his guns. "Foolish, but admirable." The battle was completely one-sided. Kalani ships died one by one, their crews giving their lives to buy a few more minutes for their homeworld. Within an hour, only 3 vessels remained, including Captain Thelen's ship, the Star Whisper. "War Commander," reported his sensor officer. "We are detecting unusual energy readings from the planet's surface." Thakmol studied the displays. The Kalani were powering up something large in their capital city. "What are they doing?" "Unknown. Sir, the energy signature is unlike anything in our databases." Before Thakmol could respond, a new transmission came from the planet's surface. An elderly Kalani male appeared on screen, his ancient face lined with sorrow, but not defeat. "I am Elder Mothtar of the Kalani High Council," the old being said. "You believe you have won, but you have only awakened something terrible. 4 days ago, we sent a message to the Outer Rim, to a species you have never encountered. They are coming, Vorthak, and when they arrive, you will learn what true war looks like." Thakmol clicked his mandibles in amusement. "Another species? Let them come. The Vorthak Empire has conquered dozens of worlds. We fear no one." "You should fear these," Elder Mothtar replied. "They call themselves humans. They come from a death world beyond your worst nightmares. They have spent their entire existence learning to kill, and now they are bringing that knowledge to our aid." "Deathworlders are myths, old fool," Thakmol said. "Tales told to frighten young ones. There are no Category 12 worlds. Nothing could survive on such a planet." Elder Mothtar's eyes seemed to look directly at him through the screen. "You are about to discover how wrong you are." The transmission ended, but Thakmol felt something he had not experienced in decades of conquest: uncertainty. He had heard stories of death worlds in his youth, planets so hostile that they created species of pure destruction. But those were ancient legends, stories with no basis in reality. "Sir," his sensor officer called out, "long-range scanners are detecting something at the edge of the system." "What kind of something?" "Unknown contacts, sir. The signatures are unlike anything we have seen before. They appear to be ships, but the energy readings are enormous." Thakmol studied the sensor data. Whatever was approaching was moving fast, faster than any ship in his fleet could manage, and there were many of them. How long until they reach us? At current speed, approximately 6 hours, sir. Thakmol considered his options. He had 200 ships and 50,000 warriors. Whatever these humans were, they could not possibly match the might of the Vorthak Empire. Continue the bombardment of the planet, he ordered. We will finish the conquest before these mysterious allies arrive. Then we will see how dangerous these Deathworlders really are. But as he watched the distant contacts growing larger on his sensors, War Commander Thakmol felt the first stirring of doubt. The old Kalani's words echoed in his mind. In all his years of conquest, he had never seen such certainty in the face of defeat. Perhaps there was more to these humans than ancient myths and legends. Perhaps Elder Mothtar knew something that the Vorthak Empire had forgotten in their centuries of easy victories. He would find out soon enough. Captain Jake Mitchell stood on the bridge of the Earth's Fury as the human fleet dropped out of warp at the edge of the Serenity system. The massive dreadnought shuddered as its engines shifted from faster-than-light travel to normal space propulsion. Around him, his crew worked with the calm efficiency that marked the best of Earth's military. "Report," Jake ordered, his eyes fixed on the main viewing screen. Lieutenant Amy Brooks, his tactical officer, looked up from her console with a grim expression. "Captain, we have multiple contacts in orbit around the fourth planet. I count over 200 enemy vessels engaged in planetary bombardment. 3 small ships are still fighting, but they won't last much longer." Jake studied the tactical display that showed the battle raging around Serenity Prime. The Vorthak fleet was enormous, far larger than intelligence estimates had suggested, but what made his jaw clench was the sight of civilian areas on the planet being hit by enemy fire. "Time to engagement range?" he asked. "At current speed, 18 minutes, sir," replied his navigator, Ensign Rick Stone. Jake activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, this is Captain Mitchell. We have arrived to find an ongoing massacre. Rules of engagement are weapons-free. Any ship firing on civilian targets is to be considered hostile and destroyed immediately." The response came back from 32 ship captains, their voices hard with anger. The human fleet had spent 3 weeks racing to reach this system, and they had arrived to find exactly what they had feared: genocide in progress. "Amy, transmit a warning to the attacking fleet on all frequencies," Jake ordered. Lieutenant Brooks adjusted her controls, and Jake's voice filled the space around Serenity Prime. "Attention Vorthak forces. This is Captain Jake Mitchell of the Terran Defense Fleet. You are ordered to cease your attack on civilian targets immediately and withdraw from this system. This is your only warning." On the bridge of the Devourer, War Commander Thakmol heard the transmission and felt his mandibles click in amusement. The approaching ships were smaller than his battle cruisers, and there were only a few dozen of them compared to his 200 vessels. "Sub-Commander Krakth," he ordered, "take 50 ships and deal with these humans. Make it quick. I want to finish the bombardment before sunset on the planet below." "Yes, War Commander," Krakth replied, selecting the fastest ships in the fleet. For the intercept mission, Captain Mitchell watched the enemy formation split, with a quarter of their ships moving to engage his fleet. He had hoped they would accept his warning and withdraw, but he had not really expected it. The Vorthak had a reputation for never backing down from a fight. "Battle stations," he announced. Throughout the human fleet, alarm klaxons sounded as crews prepared for combat. "All ships maintain formation. Let them come to us." The 2 fleets raced toward each other across the void. The Vorthak ships were larger and more heavily armed than the human vessels, but Jake had advantages that the enemy did not know about. Earth's ships had been designed by a species that had fought wars for thousands of years, perfecting the art of destruction through countless conflicts. "Enemy fleet in range in 30 seconds, Amy reported. "They are charging weapons." "Wait for it," Jake said calmly. Around him, his bridge crew tensed as the enemy ships grew larger on the screen. The Vorthak opened fire first, sending streams of plasma across the space between the fleets. But the human ships were already moving, using evasive patterns that Jake's ancestors had learned fighting aircraft over the skies of Earth centuries ago. "Return fire," Jake ordered. The human fleet unleashed its weapons for the first time in interstellar combat. Kinetic accelerators fired solid metal slugs at Incredible speeds while particle beams cut through space with surgical precision. The difference between human and alien weapons technology became clear immediately. The Vorthak plasma weapons were powerful, but slow, designed to overwhelm enemy shields through brute force. Human weapons were fast and accurate, built to punch through armor and destroy specific targets with minimal waste. Sub-Commander Kracht watched in shock as the first volley from the human fleet tore through his lead ships like paper. The metal projectiles moved so fast that his shields barely slowed them down, and when they hit hull armor, they punched clean through to the other side. "What kind of weapons are these?" he chittered to his weapons officer. Before anyone could answer, the second human volley arrived. 3 more Vorthak ships exploded, their plasma reactors going critical as human slugs destroyed their containment systems. On the Earth's Fury, Jake watched the engagement with professional satisfaction. "Amy, target their command ship, full. Spread kinetic penetrators." The dreadnought's main guns swiveled toward the largest Vorthak vessel. When they fired, 6 metal slugs the size of telephone poles struck the enemy ship in rapid succession. The first shot collapsed its shields. The second and third punched through its armor, and the remaining rounds tore apart its internal structure. Sub-Commander Kracht felt his ship dying around him as human weapons systematically destroyed every vital system. Emergency lights bathed his bridge in red as atmosphere vented through dozens of holes in the hull. "Retreat," he gasped into his communicator. "All ships, retreat to the main fleet. These weapons, they are not like anything we have faced before." But retreat was not an option. The human ships moved with a coordination that spoke of years of training and centuries of warfare. They pursued the fleeing Vorthak vessels, their weapons never missing, never wasting a shot. Captain Mitchell watched 12 enemy ships destroyed in the first 5 minutes of combat. The remaining Vorthak vessels were fleeing back toward their main fleet, but his ships were faster and more maneuverable. "Sir," Amy called out, "we are receiving a transmission from one of the surviving Kalani ships." The main screen shifted to show Captain Zara Thelen on the bridge of the Star Whisper. Her ship showed massive damage with smoke filling the background and sparks flying from damaged consoles. "Human Captain," she said, her voice filled with amazement. "I am Captain Zara Thelen. We did not expect you to arrive so quickly." "We came as fast as we could," Jake replied. "Are you able to continue fighting?" Zara looked surprised by the question. "Fighting? Captain, we are scientists and explorers. We have no weapons that can harm the Vorthak." Jake nodded grimly. "Then stay back and let us handle this. We are going to end this bombardment right now." He turned to his crew. "All ships advance on the main enemy fleet. It is time to show these Vorthak what happens when they threaten innocent people." The human fleet accelerated toward the massed Vorthak ships, their weapons ready and their crews determined to stop the massacre of Serenity Prime. War Commander Thakmol was about to learn that some species were born for war, and humanity was one of them. War Commander Thakmol watched his forward scouts return in defeat, their ships damaged and leaking atmosphere. Only 37 of the 50 vessels he had sent survived the encounter with the human fleet. In 20 years of conquest, he had never seen such devastating losses in so short a time. "Report," he demanded as Sub-Commander Kracht limped onto the bridge, his left arm hanging useless at his side. "War Commander, these humans fight like nothing we have encountered," Kracht wheezed. "Their weapons move faster than our sensors can track. They punch through our armor like it is made of soft metal. And their ships, they move like living creatures. Impossible to target properly." Thakmol studied the tactical display showing the approaching human fleet. 32 ships, against his remaining 150. The odds should still favor the Vorthak, but something cold was forming in his stomach. Fear, an emotion he had not felt since his first battle as a young warrior. "Sir?" His sensor operator called out. "The human fleet is broadcasting another message." Captain Mitchell's voice filled the bridge of the Devourer, calm and hard as steel. "War Commander Thakmol, this is your final warning. Cease your bombardment of civilian targets and withdraw your fleet from this system. If you do not comply, we will destroy every ship under your command." Thakmol's mandibles clicked in rage. No species had ever dared to threaten the Vorthak Empire with such arrogance. His ancestors had conquered worlds when these humans were still crawling in mud huts. "Open a channel," he ordered. When the connection was established, he glared at the human captain on his screen. The alien was smaller than a Vorthak warrior, with only 2 arms and soft skin that would not stop even a child's claws. How could such weak creatures pose any threat? "Human captain, I am War Commander Thakmol of the Vorthak Third Conquest Fleet. You face the might of an empire that has crushed dozens of worlds. Retreat now, or join the Kalani in death." Captain Mitchell's expression did not change. "Commander, you are killing innocent civilians. That ends now. Surrender, and your crews will be allowed to return home. Refuse, and we will remove you by force." "Your 30 ships against my fleet?" Thakmol laughed. "You are either very brave or very stupid." "We are very determined," Mitchell replied, and cut the transmission. Thakmol turned to his fleet commanders. "All ships, attack formation. Destroy these humans quickly, then resume bombardment of the planet." The Vorthak fleet formed into their traditional battle line, a wall of heavy cruisers supported by smaller destroyers. It was a formation that had never failed them in centuries of warfare. Behind this wall, War Commander Thakmol felt his confidence returning. Let the humans come. They would break against Vorthak steel like waves against a cliff. The human fleet approached in a different formation entirely. Instead of a single battle line, they moved in small groups of 3 or 4 ships, each group able to act independently. To Vorthak eyes, it looked chaotic and unorganized. "Their formation has no structure," observed the tactical officer. "They will not be able to concentrate their fire effectively." But as the battle began, the Vorthak learned that human tactics were anything but chaotic. Each small group attacked a different part of the Vorthak line, forcing the enemy to split their attention. While Vorthak gunners tried to target one human ship, its companions would strike from unexpected angles. The Earth's Fury led the center group, charging directly at the Vorthak flagship. Around it, the cruisers Liberty and Freedom provided covering. "Fire while the destroyer squadron moved to flank the enemy formation. Target their command ship," Captain Mitchell ordered. "Take out their leadership, and the rest will fall apart." Lieutenant Brooks locked the ship's weapons onto the Devourer. "Sir, that ship has extremely heavy armor. It will take multiple hits to penetrate." "Then we will give it multiple hits," Mitchell replied. All weapons, continuous fire. The Earth's Fury unleashed everything it had. Kinetic accelerators sent solid slugs hammering against the Vorthak flagship's shields, while particle beams carved glowing lines across its armor. Other human ships joined the assault, concentrating their fire on the massive enemy vessel. War Commander Thakmol felt his ship shudder under the human bombardment. His shields failed after only minutes of combat, something that should have been impossible. Vorthak's shields were designed to withstand hours of enemy fire. "Damage report," he demanded. "Forward armor compromised," his engineer reported. "Hull, breaches on decks 5 through 12. They are using some kind of metal projectile that penetrates our defenses." Another salvo struck the Devourer, and Thakmol was thrown to the deck as his bridge lighting failed. Emergency power bathed everything in red, and he could hear the hiss of atmosphere escaping through hull breaches. But the real shock came from his sensor operator. "War Commander, the human ships are launching smaller craft. They appear to be boarding shuttles." Thakmol struggled to his feet, his mind reeling. "Boarding? They mean to take our ships?" Through the viewports, he could see small human vessels racing toward damaged Vorthak ships. Each shuttle carried what looked like a full squad of human soldiers. As he watched, one shuttle attached itself to the hull of a Vorthak cruiser and began cutting through the armor. Major Sam Carter led the first boarding party through the breach in the enemy hull. His Marine squad moved with practiced efficiency, their weapons ready and their movements coordinated through years of training. Behind him, 20 more Marines followed, each one a veteran of Earth's brutal training programs. The Vorthak crew fought desperately to repel the boarders, but they had never faced anything like human Marines in close combat. The humans moved, faster than seemed possible, their reflexes honed by evolution on a world that tried to kill them every day. What took Vorthak warriors seconds to decide? humans could do in fractions of a second. "Secure the engine room," Carter ordered over his radio. "Team 2, take the bridge. Team 3, weapons control." The battle inside the Vorthak ship lasted only minutes. The insectoid warriors were strong and brave, but they had evolved on a world with lighter gravity and fewer predators. They had never developed the killer instincts that came naturally to every human. Across the fleet, similar scenes played out as human boarding parties captured ship after ship. The Vorthak found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move, that struck from unexpected directions, that never gave up no matter how desperate the situation became. War Commander Thakmol realized too late what Elder Mothtar had tried to warn him about. These humans were not just another species with advanced technology. They were predators, shaped by millions of years on a world that had tried to kill them. Every reflex, every instinct, every thought pattern had been forged in the fires of survival. "All ships," he broadcast to his fleet, "retreat immediately. Do not engage the humans in close combat. They are not what we thought." But his warning came too late. Half his fleet was already dead or captured, and the humans showed no sign of slowing their assault. The space around Serenity Prime filled with the wreckage of the Vorthak fleet. War Commander Thakmol watched from his damaged bridge as the last of his ships either surrendered or fled toward deep space. In 3 hours of battle, the mighty Third Conquest Fleet had been reduced to scattered survivors running for their lives. Captain Mitchell stood on the bridge of the Earth's Fury, watching the tactical display as the final enemy vessels disappeared into warp. Around Serenity Prime, human ships moved to assist the damaged Kalani vessels and begin rescue operations. "Casualty report," he requested. Lieutenant Brooks consulted her console. 2 destroyers heavily damaged, 17 crew members injured, none killed. The enemy lost 137 ships destroyed or captured, with approximately 40 vessels escaping. Mitchell nodded grimly. The battle had been decisive, but he took no pleasure in the destruction. War was never something to celebrate, even when fighting to protect innocent lives. "Sir," Communications Officer Pete Davis called out, "we are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface." The main screen shifted to show Elder Mothtar standing in what appeared to be a government building. Behind him, other Kalani officials watched with expressions of amazement and gratitude. "Captain Mitchell," the elderly Kalani said, "I am Elder Mothtar of the High Council. On behalf of all Kalani people, I thank you for coming to our aid. Without your intervention, our species would have faced extinction within hours." "Elder, we came as soon as we received your distress call," Mitchell replied. "How extensive is the damage to your world?" "The Vorthak bombardment destroyed several cities and killed thousands of civilians," Mothtar said sadly. "But the damage could have been much worse. Your arrival saved millions of lives." Before Mitchell could respond, another transmission came through. This one originated from the captured Vorthak flagship, where War Commander Thakmol sat in his ruined command center under Marine Guard. "Human Captain," Thakmol said, his voice filled with something that might have been respect. "I underestimated your species. You fight with a skill and ferocity that I have never encountered. I was wrong to dismiss the warnings about Deathworlders." Mitchell studied the alien commander on his screen. Thakmol looked different now, his earlier arrogance replaced by the hollow expression of total defeat. "Commander, your empire has been attacking peaceful worlds for decades," Mitchell said. "That ends now. You will order all Vorthak forces to withdraw from Kalani space immediately." "I no longer have the authority to give such orders," Thakmol replied. "My defeat here will be seen as disgrace by the Empire. They will send another fleet, larger than mine." Mitchell felt a cold anger building in his chest. "Then we will be waiting for them." The transmission ended, and Mitchell turned to find Admiral Kate Sullivan entering his bridge. She had arrived with reinforcements just as the battle concluded, bringing additional ships and supplies for the relief effort. "Admiral," Mitchell said, "good to see you made it." Kate surveyed the bridge, noting the calm efficiency of the crew, despite the recent battle. "Captain, you and your people have done something remarkable here. First contact with an alien species, and we established Earth as a protector rather than a conqueror. What are our orders regarding the Vorthak Empire? Mitchell asked. President Carter has authorized the establishment of a permanent fleet presence in this region, Kate replied. We are not going home and leaving these people defenseless. Earth is committed to protecting the Kalani and any other peaceful species that ask for our help. 2 days later, Captain Zara Thelen stood in the conference room aboard the Earth's Fury, watching as Admiral Sullivan signed the formal alliance agreement between Earth and the Kalani Federation. The document established mutual defense treaties, technology sharing agreements, and cultural exchange programs. This alliance represents more than just military cooperation, Admiral Sullivan said as she placed her signature on the treaty. It marks the beginning of a new era for both our species. Elder Mothtar, who had traveled up from the planet's surface despite his advanced age, nodded in agreement. The Kalani have always believed in peaceful cooperation between species. You humans have shown us that sometimes peace must be defended with strength. Dr. Alex Morgan, who had arrived with the reinforcement fleet, was busy cataloging Kalani technology and scientific knowledge. The peaceful aliens had developed amazing advances in medicine, energy generation, and space travel that could benefit all of humanity. Their medical technology alone could save millions of lives on Earth, he explained to Admiral Sullivan. They have cures for diseases we have been fighting for centuries. But the most significant development came from the interrogation of captured Vorthak officers. Under questioning, they revealed the locations of other species under attack by the Empire, as well as the positions of peaceful civilizations that might need protection. Major Carter stood before a holographic star map in the Earth's Fury War room, pointing out the various systems that intelligence had identified. The Vorthak Empire controls or threatens over 20 star systems, he reported. Most of the species under attack are peaceful traders and scientists, like the Kalani. They have no military capability to defend themselves. Admiral Sullivan studied the map with growing determination. Then we will have to defend them ourselves. Word of the Battle of Serenity Prime spread quickly through galactic communication networks. Other peaceful species who had lived in fear of Vorthak expansion for decades began sending messages to Earth, requesting assistance or alliance. The Zentari Republic offered to share their advanced shield technology in exchange for protection. The peaceful collective of Tau Ceti sent envoys asking Earth to mediate disputes with aggressive neighbors. Even species that had never heard of humans began requesting contact with the mysterious Deathworlders who had defeated the mighty Vorthak Empire. Captain Mitchell found himself promoted to admiral and given command of the new Galactic Protection Fleet. His mission was simple: respond to distress calls from peaceful species and ensure that aggressive empires like the Vorthak could never again terrorize the innocent. 3 months after the battle, Admiral Mitchell stood on the observation deck of his new flagship, watching human patrol ships take up positions throughout former Vorthak territory. Earth had not sought to become the galaxy's protector, but when innocent people called for help, humanity had answered. The Vorthak Empire still existed, but it no longer expanded unopposed. Every aggressive move was met by human ships. Every attack on civilians was stopped by human marines. Slowly but surely, the galaxy was becoming a safer place for peaceful species to live and grow. Elder Mothtar had been right when he warned War Commander Thakmal about awakening the Deathworlders. Humanity had indeed brought their knowledge of war to the stars, but they had brought something else as well: the willingness to use that terrible strength to protect those who could not protect themselves. And across the galaxy, species that had lived in fear for generations began to hope again.